Greetings, possessed wealthy heiresses to Geek Salad. I am not Andy, as you can tell. Andy had a meeting pop up at the last minute, so he was unable to join us. And unfortunately, our schedules could not align this week. So he told us to just go ahead and start without him. So I'm with not Andy, but someone much more lovely.
Hi, I'm Jonna.
Thank you.
And it's all right that Andy's not here because his favorite is next week's anyway.
Yes. He definitely will be back for next week. But this week, and if you didn't click on the link and see what it was, which you had to, we're doing Alfred Hitchcock's classic Vertigo, 1958.
I have to say, as someone who once lived in the Bay Area, it was fascinating to me to see the skyline of San Francisco without the Transamerica pyramid.
Yeah.
San Francisco has such an iconic skyline, and there were elements of it that were there at the time that was filmed, and this whole movie really is a love letter to San Francisco in many ways. But it was an interesting take because you get the feeling, wait, there's something really missing here. Kind of like mountains at the end of Main Street sometimes are missing.
Yes. But that's a story for another podcast. However, Andy did send his thoughts on Vertigo over, and I told him I would read them for him. He said that visually and cinematically, it's Hitchcock's best-looking film. The twists in the plot were unexpected, so I enjoyed that. But Stewart's turn to a paranoid abusive seemed very out of left field.
It didn't seem as odd to me, actually, when I thought about it. It seems like in movies, they always portrayed him as awkward with women. Most probably notably in the Christmas Capra classic, where he got married, but you got the feeling that he really wasn't sure he wanted to.
Yeah.
He's, and in this, both relationships with women that he has are that kind of awkward, unhealthy relationship. You got the feeling that he might have been able to make one work with Midge because she truly is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
In the whole movie. But the relationship that he has with Madeline is it's very twisted and dark. That's perhaps the darkest Jimmy Stewart that I've ever seen, because he nailed that whole obsession thing.
Yeah, this was genuinely the first time I've ever seen this movie. It was definitely much different than I was expecting it to be. I thought that the whole Vertigo thing, being the title of the movie, would play a much bigger role. But it seemed like it was just like kind of a means to it. It was almost a secondary MacGuffin.
It was a plot device to give him a reason. I mean, the man is a retired police officer.
Yeah.
So he does not, but he can't race up the stairs of the tower, the non-existent tower. So he doesn't see the body, the actual one, whatever happened to it.
Yeah.
That's all a blank.
And
the coroner really let him have it with both barrels over that.
Yeah, he just had to sit there while the coroner was like, and you were just complete and utter moron, a complete and utter weakling asshole who just let her die. But I guess it's not completely your fault because you're a complete and utter moron. It's like, dude,
yeah, that was the least sympathetic inquest ever, I think, for someone who was really a third party to everything.
Yeah, but I do have to say, though, there is no way after after the end of the movie, because the movie just kind of ends there. There's going to be another inquest, and there's no way he gets off that easy, because the very, very similar looking woman dies the exact same way, and he's right there when it happens. It doesn't matter if the nun saw her fall. He's getting locked up for this one, and rightfully so, because he was a freaking abusive dude. I just want so many times, like, I had to stop it, like, with like 15 minutes left in the movie. It was like, no, this guy is like creeping me out. Like,
yes,
Judy, run. The second he tells you to dye your hair, run. Get in that car and just drive back to Salina, Kansas, please.
Yes, no. I did not go for Hitchcock blonde, as you can tell. It's like I said, it's an incredibly unhealthy relationship on both ends. Yeah. I mean, he had legitimately charmed Madeline while she was playing her role. And then she was not at all sure what to do with it afterward. And yes, it did become very stalkery, very abusive, although that suit was a banger, that gray suit. But yeah, he was trying to mold her into the picture he had in his head.
Yeah. And honestly, especially after doing The Birds last week, knowing how Hitchcock treated a lot of his female actresses, that puts a whole different spin on that whole thing. It was like, okay, how much of this is just scripted that way, and how much of this is Hitchcock putting his own feelings into the script?
Okay, that's a truly disturbing notion, and I don't want to think about it too much, because yeah, you're probably way too on the nose there.
I mean the whole, like, how Jimmy Stewart was treating, how I can't even remember his character's name. How Scotty was treating Judy in that end. I'm like, this feels a little bit too Tippi Hedren for my taste.
I was a little annoyed too, more than a little annoyed too, with his behavior toward his ex-fiancée.
Yeah. Midge dodged a big old bullet there.
Yes, she did. And she, played by Barbara Bel Geddes, who went on to have an entirely different career.
Yep. As the matriarch of the Dallas family.
Yep. She was, to me, a very interesting character. She was young, educated, smart. As I said, she was always the voice of reason.
A fantastic artist.
Yes. And with an honest-to-God sense of humor, as witnessed by her reaction to his reaction to that bridge design bra. You're a big boy. She just she knew he had issues, and she kind of let them roll off her back, didn't take them too seriously, too personally. And so she was actually probably a better friend to him after they broke up than he ever deserved. And I get the feeling that, even though the movie never showed it, she would have stood by him.
Yeah.
And I think between her and the nun, he probably wouldn't wind up in prison, though he would definitely have to go through another very, very unpleasant inquest with.
Yeah, and this time it was fully deserved.
But it would also, there would be answers to the questions, and they'd be looking to extradite his so-called friend.
Oh yeah,
who set him up to kill his wife, get his wife.
Gavin's getting a full-on. Gavin's getting a full-on police hunt for him. They're gonna get an Interpol in and have him dragged back from Europe. But yes, and I forget exactly how they worded it in the beginning, but was it Midge that broke off the engagement?
I don't recall exactly. I think it was more of a mutual parting of the ways, but she probably, being the level-headed woman that she was, she probably had to do it because she knew that he never would.
Yeah. and she,
but that they weren't going to get married either. So
yeah, she knew that he was not into her, but at the same time, I don't know. He seems like he probably was fairly obsessed with her at the beginning, and then he kind of maybe lost interest as they got closer and closer to the wedding, and she probably realized it.
I mean, yeah, she didn't seem the type to tolerate, and she wasn't going to tolerate that kind of abuse.
No,
for darn sure. She'd have given him his marching papers.
Yeah, Barbara. Midge was definitely a much, so we say, stronger woman than Judy/Madeline was.
Yes, and Madeline, she's an interesting character because she is very much played off as a victim, and indeed the treatment that she got from Scotty is definitely very, very disturbing. And at the end, when he's literally physically dragging her up the tower, that's leaving marks. That's definitely abusive.
And when they're up like right either on the tower or right below the tower, he's got his hand around her throat. It's like, no, this no.
But she also knowingly participated in a ruse that ended in murder. Can we say accessory?
Yeah, she was not an innocent party about this, but I think that the punishment was by far in excess of the crime.
Oh, yeah. But that was one of the things that bothered me again about Scotty. The man's a former police detective. He knows what's going down.
Yeah.
And he puts his need to hear it from her own lips, to force it out of her, over what the logical course of operations would have been to ring up his buddies at the police department and say, have I got a story for you?
Yeah.
She can be found at this address.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like the first half of the movie, everything kind of felt a little weird with the whole like possessed by Carlotta, because I'm just like, no. Like Hitchcock loves to hint at supernatural, but he never includes supernatural elements in his movies. I mean, the closest you get is The Birds, probably, and even that's more just extra natural. But with Rebecca, there are hints of the supernatural, but it's never actually supernatural. So the whole thing was like, all right, they're hinting that she's possessed. She's not actually possessed. There's something weird going on here. And then, it reveals what happens when Judy comes into the scene.
Well, Scotty very much was, I think that the only reason that a detective of any years would have bought that little scenario in any way, shape, or form was because he was in the first fog of desire.
Yeah.
And that clearly clogged his brain.
Yeah, no, the second he saw her and Gavin in Ernie's, there is like something clicked. It's like, maybe I do want to follow her around for a while. By the way, his following skills leave much to be desired. It's like, there's a car driving right behind me. What the? This making the same turns as I. Something's going on here. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because she knew he was going to be following her in order to play with the whole ruse. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're an ex-cop. You know how to follow more surreptitiously than this.
Well, apparently surveillance was not his forte.
No.
But enough that he finally figured it out. But then he's so enmeshed in his own form of obsession that he can't do the thing that by law he should be compelled to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting. I still find this whole movie to be a love letter to San Francisco in particular, and Northern California in general.
Yeah, they do have that gorgeous scene in
Muir Woods, although I believe that another state park with redwoods probably stood in for some of that.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it to your expertise in this one.
But yeah, the gorgeous redwoods, the shots of the bridge. I would still like to know how she actually used Coit Tower to triangulate exactly where his place was in a city as big as even then San Francisco would have been.
Let me see. You can see the lighthouse from this angle. So it's like, dude, she's a better detective than he is.
Yeah. And possibly a better mathematician than Midge, right?
Yeah.
But the Legion of Honor and the Art Museum, Mission Dolores, which really is as small as it looks in there. It's not a big place.
Because I know you visited there, right?
Yes, I have been actually to both missions that were in this film. And another thing that I found interesting was having been to Mission San Juan Bautista, Hitchcock really nailed the description when he's trying to pull out of her and he's describing San Juan Bautista. That's pretty much the way it looked when I was there.
Did they have the little wooden horse there as well?
Oh. And the big lawn out in front of between the hotel and the mission, all of it.
Do they
but
talk
no
about
tower, since they had to create that one for a little movie magic.
Yeah, I believe that was actually on the studio lot too.
But it was kind of nice. Mission San Juan Bautista is not a big place, so I'm sure it was easy to get the rights to film there and not cause anybody too much trouble, which cannot be said of San Francisco. They really had to work to get that much at San Francisco. And everyone who was ever local was looking at those street scenes and going, yeah, that parking doesn't exist right in front of your building.
In fact, there's multiple slots. Multiple slots, so you can see the other person coming up and putting a letter in your mailbox.
Right.
Do they talk about Carlotta in the actual San Juan Bautista?
No, I have to say that was perhaps the worst part for me. That portrait in the gallery was just bad.
Yeah,
badly done, and so
and
not
honestly,
the artist's finest work.
No, the portrait of Barbara Belgedes in that outfit looked a lot better than the picture of Carlotta in that outfit.
Oh yeah. So, but it all in all, it really was an interesting touch. He clearly had a great affection for the city, and it showed in all the aspects that he put in. Muir Woods, not in the city, but just across the bridge a little ways. Yeah. So I count it as the same.
Yeah.
And it really was almost a travelogue from the top of the Mark to the Coit Tower, to the bridge, to the Legion. It's all there.
And that little point that's like right underneath the bridge where he dives in to save her.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been in several movies that I've seen.
Yep, very picturesque.
Mm.
But, all in all, despite all that, you really come back to it is the psychological study of someone who at one time really probably was really good. He was working at the very beginning to catch that criminal who's on the run and risking his life to do it. And then he's dealing with not only his near-death experience, but the survivor's guilt because somebody else died trying to pull him up.
Yeah.
And clearly that is doing things to his mind that get worse and worse over the course of the film.
Yeah, and Mr. Drysdale didn't point at them out at all. Because the doctor that oversees him when he's catatonic there, that was played by the same actor that played Mr. Drysdale in Beverly Hillbillies. But yeah, like I said, I was expecting something much, much different when I went into this movie, and what I got was not what I was expecting, but not in a good way.
I think, our expectation of Jimmy Stewart is that he's this genial, warm, folksy guy, even if he can't keep a relationship going. But he's generally a nice guy. In this, you get the impression he might have started out that way, but his own demons were devouring him. And it was really sad to see.
Yeah, honestly, for me, the first half of the movie was like it was fine. It was a little interesting. It was interesting, but definitely more along the lines of what we were expecting. But that second half of the movie ended, gets in, and after he gets out of the hospital, I did not like the ending of this movie. The whole second half of the movie I felt really, really uncomfortable watching it. Granted, it was made in '58, so I'm sure things were different. But even back then, this had to have been crossing several lines.
But it was meant to be. I mean, you're meant to be creeped out and disgusted by, and simultaneously sorry for this man who is so obviously and clearly devolving.
Yeah, with Judy's like, dude, the second he says, "I can't love you until you look like my dead ex," run and never look back. I don't care how much you love him. Like, he clearly will never love you as much as you love him. So get out.
Well, he's in love with a phantom that never truly existed.
Yeah.
And he can't seem to come to terms with that.
Yeah.
And I think it works very much in the anger, too, that he was lied to and that he was used.
Yeah.
And he can't take it out on the man who set the whole thing in motion.
Yeah.
So she's the target because she's the one who's left behind. She's the one who's right there.
Yeah.
It's very unpleasant to watch because abuse always is.
Yeah. This movie kind of falls into my category of classic films that everybody seems to love, but I do not like this. Wizard of Oz. And hey, we mentioned it earlier. It's a Wonderful Life. It is not a Wonderful Life because Jimmy Stewart in that one is kind of a loser that blames all of his problems on someone else as well. Same thing here.
But
yeah,
no, but it was certainly it was not a boring watch by any means at all. I mean, even coming from the outside, where it can't possibly be a possession because, of course, that is absurd. It was always interesting. And I would say that Kim Novak,
who is still alive, still alive.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's in her 90s. She's still around.
Not the best actress ever.
No.
But she did a good job with a dual role.
Yeah.
And differentiating between those two roles.
Yeah, I will say I probably think her not Carlotta, the what?
Madeline?
Thank you, yes. Her Madeline, I thought, was a better role for her than her Judy. Because Judy, she was had to pretend to be like, I'm offended. Why are you following me? Oh, okay, I guess we'll go out for dinner. oh, okay, yeah, I'm madly in love with you, but I have to hide. Is it the when she's supposed to be playing like kind of playing a role? She seemed more natural than when she wasn't playing the role. But wow, that's confusing.
Where are we in the Matrix now, right?
Yeah. Ooh, I think I just had a glitch. Ooh.
But all in all, I had not seen this before before this was brought up. And I actually enjoyed it. And I can see why so many people think of this in many ways as one of his best.
I mean, visually, like Andy said, visually, this is a gorgeous movie. The way he uses especially the green in the when she actually comes out at the end as Judy with her hair pinned up, and she steps out and the green light is around her, and she's kind of almost faded like a ghost. And then as she steps out of the green light, she solidifies and takes off. The visually, it is amazing.
He also took some good visual cues at the very end when the nun comes out of the darkness.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a
Grim Reaper.
A demon coming to grab her, and it ends about as well as you'd think.
Yeah, so in a sense, she was the Grim Reaper.
Inadvertently, but yes. Poor nun. Now they can both have a complex. Except I do believe his was cured by the sudden traumatic one.
Well, the fact that he walked out on that ledge and just stared at. Actually, speaking of which, that is something that came to mind. Is like, okay, this was a murder scene, and someone's already fallen to their death. No one was like, you know what? Maybe we should put some railings up around here. You know, maybe
it's the church. I don't think OSHA had jurisdiction there.
Probably not, but it is.
Let's talk one up for the need for safety railings.
I mean, granted, it'd been several months because he'd already been in and out of the hospital. So, yeah, it's been several months since the murder, but maybe rope it off. Say, employees only on the door.
Right?
Something just to maybe we don't want another person falling from this.
Lock the door.
Amazing thing. Just give the nun the key. Hello.
Oh, but then we wouldn't have had much of a movie.
Well, we'd have a better ending.
I don't think ultimately it would have mattered. I think poor Judy was doomed one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, she would have either fallen or he would have killed her outright, I think. He'd gone past he was ready to. I think if the nun hadn't shown up, he might have actually just thrown her off. Yeah,
it was, but I'm sure he was much more capable of dealing with the inquest the second go round.
Yeah.
You think what a difference a DNA test would have made back then?
Mm-hmm. It's okay, we got this body. Wait, hold on. She was dead before she fell out of the window. Something's off. Oh, police procedurals are so much better now.
But I am glad that you guys called me in to do that because I really, really appreciated watching this one.
Yeah. Obviously, out of the three that we've watched so far, this is probably my least favorite. But I can understand why people love it so much. I'll put it that way.
Well, I didn't see the first one, and I think that probably would have been my least favorite, just, based on the horror tropes. But
you know what? Next time I go out there, I think we're gonna have to watch Psycho. I showed you Jaws, and it wasn't too bad. Come on, was it? There are a few moments, but most of it's actually quite good. So, I think you're about ready to take on Psycho. Come on.
Can't I just do Jurassic Park?
Well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I'll definitely show you Jurassic Park. Anyway, so yeah, that was our review of Vertigo. So tell us what you think. Do you love this movie? Do you not care for it like I did? Leave a polite comment, please, below. Give this movie give this review a thumbs up. Yeah. Andy will be back next week as we review our final movie. And if you go on to Netflix, I'm sure you can take a wild guess at what it would be. Hint, hint, Jimmy Stewart will be back. That kind of gave it away, didn't it? Anyway. So yeah, you can follow us on Geek Salad Radio or podcast on Blue Sky. It's either radio or podcast. Yeah, take a pick. Try them both, and you'll find out which one we are. Andy's the one that does all these outros, so he is so much better at these than I am. But anyways, so I'm just gonna wrap it now. So until next time, I'm Mike.
And I'm Jonna.
And you may be back in next week as well.
We'll see what my schedule is like.
Yes, that's the key. So yeah, until next time, go forth, be nerdful, and don't fall out of any church towers.
Good sound advice.
Yes. Bye-bye.